Today we're going to perform electrical safety with the Fluke Biomedical ESA614 using an automated test sequence on this LifePak20 defibrillator. We will start off by powering the ESA614 on. And then we're going to plug this USB into the side. This USB is connected to the standard off-the-shelf keyboard. This allows us to more easily type into the 614. The ESA614 can be used as a standalone device in this configuration. So now we're going to go through and we're going to select the test that we want to do. These are the pre-built tests that come in your standard 614. Being a defibrillator, we're going to select the defibrillator. We're going to use the ANSI ESA614 and we're going to go in and we're going to view and see what this test entails. Push F2 and now we can see the details of the test. You can use your down arrow or you can use the down arrow on your keyboard to navigate the screen. So we're going to go through here and check out and make sure that this is everything that we want the defibrillator to do for the electrical safety test. Oh, no, here, pause after power on. We're going to pause this. We're going to put a pause there and we're not like the power off there. Pause. And a reverse polarity test. We don't use reverse polarity tests in this facility, so we'd like to shut that off as well. So to fix this, we're going to push edit, and we're going to select the ANSI ES, that's the test we're already looking at, the next step. It's a class 1 device, we're going to go ahead and select that. And here we'll see that the ECG is going to use the first 3 ports. Scroll in here a little bit. There you go, the ECG will use the first 3 ports on the top. But you'll see here that it says that they are not tied and they are isolated. But what we're going to need to do, because the LifePak20, when you plugged in the adapter on the top and you put the leads across there, here's the 3rd one, put 3 leads across the top, you notice that the last 2 ports are also taken up and there's no place to plug in a hands-free adapter. To do that, what we do is we use the adapter from the Impulse 7000, connect it to the hands-free port, but the ends are banana pins and the snap adapter takes it up, so we can't use this portion either. So let's go ahead and we're going to modify how we're going to connect the applied parts. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to delete the ECG, and are we sure? Yes. Now we're going to create a new applied parts test and we're going to title it ECG. Now, since we're going to use the 1 to 10 adapter, we're only going to need to have 1 patient connector. See here, there's all where they all connect in. There's only 1 output, so we're going to use 1 connector. We'll put the other ECG snap on while we're here. That gives you the ability to put 5 on one side and 5 on the other. If you need, the banana pins are right there as well. And where it says setting not tied, since we're going to go through the block, they're all averaged together, so we're going to go ahead and change that to tied. Since they're all tied together and all the results will be coming out of 1 cable. And then also, since it's a defibrillator, these will be isolated like it was in the original setup. And you can see which position is going to assign to it. Those positions correspond to the holes on the top of the ESA614. There's a better view of it, and we're going to select done. So now you see your paddle up here is not tied, and we don't have paddles on our defibrillator. We have a hands-free adapter. So just to make it easier for the next technician to understand, what we're going to do is we're going to change this one from paddle to hands-free, just for clarification purposes. So delete that step, and we're going to create a new step called, let's type it in, hands-free adapter. And it's going to use 2 patient connectors. There's 2 wires on the hands-free adapter, so change this to 2. And they're not tied, they're independent. So that's correct, but they are isolated being it's a defibrillator. And then you can see the 2 ports that it's now assigned to. So we'll go ahead and hit OK. And again, just to review, there's our ECG on position 1. Now we're going to connect the hands-free adapter to the defibrillator, and we have our 2 ports here, and we'll scroll back so you can see the top, and we're going to connect those into the 2 corresponding ports on the top of the ESA614. So that's going to be the hands-free adapter, and we're going to hit next step, and normal speed, everything's good. We're going to go back and review the rest of the screens. Everything else here is good. And we put a power on delay, and we still have power off delay. Patient records in and out, that's all good. Scrolling down here, reverse polarity. Like you said, our facility doesn't use that. Oh, wrong button, easy enough, just hit back button. Power off, yes. Reverse polarity, no. We don't use that at this facility. And now we're at the name of the defibrillator. This is the name of the new test that we just created. Since we started off the AMI-ANSI test, we will just go ahead and delete the end of it, the date, and we're going to give it our own name. It's the same as the AMI-ANSI test, but we added the 1 to 10 adapter. So hit the backspace or delete key of your keyboard, and we're going to type in then, miss key, easy enough to correct, hit the backspace and type into what you want, 1 to 10. So now we know that we're going to use the Fluke Biomedical 1 to 10 adapter to perform this defibrillator test. And done. There we can review the name, hit next step, and there's the test we just created, and then save. All right, now we're going to review our test, and you can see at the top line here where it says ECG isolation, hands-free isolation. That's going to correspond to the connectors on the top of the ESA614. And those go down to here, the ECG to the 1 to 10 adapter, and the hands-free to the hands-free adapter. So that's a nice way to view where your connections are supposed to be. You can also review the name of the test we're about to perform. Push F1 for next to start the test. And we're going to type in the equipment's identifier tag. And just for today, we're going to call it defibrillator 1234. And we're going to record a serial number in, and we're going to call it test 1234. That's how we're going to pull back the name in the future. We're going to skip the manufacturer because this one's already in our system. Or it's just as easy to type it in. And we'll type in the model number as LifePak20. And we're going to go ahead and start the test by pushing F1. Now it's going to give us instructions. It's going to say, connect the lead to the ESA615. I'll scroll in. And since we haven't used this ESA614 in a while, we're going to want to go ahead and zero out the ECG. We'll use it by connecting this red alligator clip to the null pin. And press 0. We recommend doing this every 30 days or if you've changed out the cable, whichever one happens first. Now it's going to tell us to go ahead and connect this ECG. It's going to tell us to go ahead and connect the red cable to the ground pin on the back of the defibrillator. And while we're here and paused, I'm just going to go ahead and hook up the rest of my ECG leads while I'm thinking of it. And our hands-free is still connected from the prior step, and we're plugged in. So now that I know everything's connected, I'm going to go ahead and take this to the ground pin on the back of the LifePak20. So now our entire LifePak20 is connected, and we'll press test. And we're going to go through and check the ground wire resistance with the defibrillator powered off. And we can power it on here now at the end of that test. Or remember, since we had a pause at the power on, it'll tell us when to power on the defibrillator. Right here, it tells us to power it on. We've already powered ours on. And so we're going to go ahead and press continue. F1 to resume the test. Now these are conducting all the tests that we have pre-programmed in. And we can see them going through. And now it wants us to move the red cable from the ground pin to a non-earth conductive point. This is simple. And put on this hand probe. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the defib discharge points on the top of the LifePak and hold this red cable through the rest of the test. Push F1 for start. And we're going to resume the test. You can see on the screen it's using the different ports on the top for doing the leakages. And now we're to the hands-free ports. And these are all the tests that we've programmed into it. And once we've programmed these tests one time, any technician who picks up the ESA614 can go back and reproduce what we've done. Okay, now it's going to tell us to haul out the power off. So we need to power off the defibrillator. I'm going to go back and put my red pin back on the portion and press continue to power off, to continue the test with power off. This is all time that you could be entering your equipment records, preparing your sticker to place on the unit, making any notes. Here's another instruction to power the defibrillator off. We've powered off our defibrillator and we're going to continue with the test. And our test sequence is now passed. So next, here's a name. This is what we're going to use when we go back into our records when we get returned to the shop. We'll push F to save it. And now our test record is saved onto the SD card of our ESA614. So now when we go back to the shop, we can take this SD card out of the ESA614 and retrieve that data. Hey, thank you for joining us today on how to use the ESA614 with your defibrillator. If there's any questions, please consult tech support or your local Fluke rep. Thank you.